Harambee! Neno hili si hivyo. Mambo ni matatu.
Ladies and gentlemen, good evening and welcome back to our channel once again. And it is my hope and prayer that the video is going to find you guys in good health. Personally, I am fine, as you can see. Kisumu is fantastic. And maybe you could also let me know where you are watching the video from. The county or the country, in case you are out of the republic. Ladies and gentlemen, can IEBC, as currently constituted, preside over free, fair and transparent elections in 2027?
Na hii inasema kwa Kiingereza, IEBC as presently constituted cannot preside over a free and fair election. It must be disbanded and be restructured in a dialogue of the people of Kenya. Na ukikataa tutakutana na tutakanyagana. Wapwani oriti huru, oriti huru.
And can the united opposition, led by Stephen Kalonzo Musyoka, Rigathi Gachagua and Fred Okengo Matiang'i, thwart any attempt to rig the elections?
We cannot have a country go down the drain while we call ourselves professionals. And so, I want to ask that election time, an election is not an event, it is a process. Therefore, I want to urge that now prepare that the 55,000 polling stations in this country will be manned by, among others, lawyers, and particularly the young ones. In addition to going for those elected positions, tafadhalini, in addition for going for those elected positions, do also determine to make sure they...
I am asking those questions because you all know what has always happened in the Republic of Kenya. If elections in Kenya were free, fair and transparent, Raila Amolo Odinga would have been declared the president of the Republic of Kenya in 2007. And I also believe very strongly that in 2022, William Ruto rigged Raila Amolo Odinga out.
Nani alikuwa komanda hiyo bunduki? Na kule tulienda kotini kama mawakili tukisema ya kwamba kura za Raila ziliibwa. Ni Sifuna aliiba hizo kura ama ni nani? Mimi nawasihi watu wa ODM. Winnie said something very good which Sifuna repeated. And at a deputy party leader, you repeated it. ODM is a party of the people. ODM is the party of the people. We the people. We the people.
But the biggest question is, can IEBC preside over free, fair and credible elections in 2027? For me, I doubt if Kenya will ever experience a free and fair elections in the Republic of Kenya, because Kenyan election is probably one of the most expensive elections in the region, if not in the world. Ladies and gentlemen, the united opposition have woken up, because for me, I've been laughing at them, because there is no way you can expect to use the same formula and find a different results. Raila Odinga enjoyed massive support across the country. Raila Odinga had some of the people who were actually willing to die for him. But at the end of the day, Raila Odinga died without becoming the president of the Republic of Kenya. Not because Kenyans did not vote for him, but because he could not protect his victory. Can Kalonzo Musyoka or Fred Matiang'i for that matter, protect their votes from being rigged out.
Mimi sijashiriki in any general election ambaye nimepoteza. I always go to the winning side. Mimi nimepiga hesabu kabisa kisayansi. Nimekaa chini na kalamu na karatasi. Na nimesikiza Wakenya kwa makini sana. Na mimi nimeona nijipange vizuri. Kwa sababu mimi sitaki kuanguka. Mimi nimepima siasa ya Kenya. Pahali Kalonzo Musyoka atakuwa ndio ushindi itakuwa.
In this video, I want us to look at something which I think is good for the country. The move by the united opposition to go to court to seek for certain declarations. I want us to go through some of those declarations and whether the united opposition can actually use them to protect the votes. Before we get into all those, in case you're watching this channel for the first time, please take a second or two, click that subscribe button so that next time we produce a video like this, YouTube will automatically notify you. And to the subscribers, I want to continue thanking you guys for your continued support, because without that support, this channel cannot be where it is. Ladies and gentlemen, by the way, why do you think the young people are not registering as voters? Is it by design? For me, I think someone somewhere sat down and came up with a strategy. And despite the fact that IEBC is registering voters, the strategy was to make sure that the young people are actually denied access to vote, access to register as voters. Registration of voters is one of the strategies used to rig the elections. But let us not get into that. I want us to look at some of the prayers which the united opposition are putting to the courts. And I'll be following that process, whether the courts will actually agree with them or whether IEBC itself will try and defend or oppose some of these recommendations. The first thing which they are putting forward is that they want IEBC to gazette all polling stations 6 months before the general elections. In 2022, IEBC published the register almost 2 weeks to the elections. And they also published the polling stations almost 2 weeks to the general election. Some of these polling stations could not be verified. Let me ask you, if in this republic we have ghost students who are getting government money, which enters into their bank accounts, and those monies are actually withdrawn, and in Kenya that's normal, what stops me from thinking that in this republic we have several ghost polling stations? In their petition, the Supreme Court actually talked about these ghost polling stations. If, for example, you want to add 300,000 votes, you will just identify some polling stations, add a few votes there, but also create some ghost polling stations. You can say, like in a school, which is a polling station, we have these streams, then you add an extra one, which does not exist. If they can deal with the issue of ghost polling stations, they are going to reduce rigging by a very huge margin. Raila Odinga tried all this, he failed. In fact, I knew Raila Odinga was not going to run for the presidency in 2027 because he was not keen on electoral reforms. This one is huge. Will Kenya Kwanza government oppose this particular proposal. Because for me, that would be the best. Let's have the register. Then Kenyans can mark this polling station in our constituency, in our ward. Where is it? It's not there. 6 months before election would be enough time. So that's one thing. I'm sure if that were to be done, things would not be very bad. Number two, and this is something which I think even the Supreme Court talked about. The united opposition wants a declaration on the finality of the presidential elections results at the constituency level. You see, some things don't make sense in the Republic of Kenya. That you go to a polling station, then you vote there. The votes are actually counted there. People record those results. Then those results are taken to the constituency level. Again, they are tallied. Then, again tallied there. Then someone in the name of returning officer then carries those results physically up to Bomas of Kenya. It doesn't make sense. And that's why in the last election, you could see someone like Boss Sholei moving up and down, going to get results and doctoring them out, and then sneaking them in. There is no need of having constituency tallying center if those tallied results will still be carried to Nairobi. Instead then, why don't we just have the polling stations, results announced there, then being transported directly to Nairobi? Then we go and verify everything in Nairobi. If this had happened, that the results were declared at the constituency level, the presidential ones, just like the county ones, Raila would have won. Because in the last election, the rigging was high-tech. From 34A and from 34B, William Ruto was very strategic. He printed Book A and Book B. Similar ones, because previously they were not similar. There was no way you could have a copy of that. So they produced 2 similar copies, then sent these copies to the constituency levels. Then these returning officers would then change them. Similar thing. So if Raila got 200 here, the changed one reads 20. You've denied him 190,000 votes. And because the agents were compromised, people were stopped from streaming at the constituency level, there's no way they could verify. So that's a good move. Number 3, they want orders compelling ballot reconciliation at the polling station level. There is no way for people in, let's say in my village, in that polling station called Kabondo Primary School, they vote. Then the results are announced there. Why can't those results be reconciled at that level? Why reconcile them at Nairobi? That's where now we have Jose Kamago interfering with the results along the way. If this were to be accepted, that would be good news. And the last prayer which they're making is they want the practice. And the last prayer which they're making, which for me is the best, is that they want the practice of IEBC and its chairperson of centralizing the final verification, collation, and declaration of presidential results at the National Tallying Center. They want that declared unconstitutional, null, and void. This one made Wafula Chebukati very powerful. It made commissioners demand a lot. That, you know, the results at the constituency level, you have to have commissioners coming. sitting and calling for a press conference. Nyakach constituency, William Samoei Arap Ruto, blah blah. Stephen Kalonzo Musyoka, blah blah. Doesn't make sense. Let those results be declared at the constituency level. Because at the constituency level, it's actually easy and possible to manage, to protect the votes there. Ladies and gentlemen, we don't want a situation where, at the end of the day, Bomas becomes a war zone. If these guys will stick and succeed with these prayers, and then they do two things. They employ serious vote protection strategy, and then parallel tallying center. Nobody can steal their victory. If they will lose, they will not blame anybody. I don't know what to think. That's my take. Until next time, this is Lee Makwiny. Bye-bye.